Joining me now is the lead pollster of Rasmussen. I don't know. Mark, which one is it? Rasmussen, which one is it?
I didn't get it right until I worked here either. So whatever you want, it's fine. It's not my last name, although sometimes I think maybe I'll change it.
Well, what is the man whose last name? Does he go by Rasmussen?
Rasmussen, yeah.
Oh, okay, we'll work on that.
But he doesn't poll with that name anymore.
He doesn't.
But yeah, we
What's he poll with?
Rasmussen.
What do you guys poll with?
No, we do.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying,
okay.
Yeah, our former founder. But yeah, a lot going on.
All right, there is a lot going on. Okay, so we haven't had you on for a few weeks. Tell me, first of all, how are the ratings for President Trump? How are his ratings?
He's doing great, which is pretty crazy considering they tried to have a psychological operation last week where they cherry-picked a couple of polls, Quinnipiac and CNN, that showed that Trump was underwater 11 and 8 points respectively. And that's crap, because my polls have shown time and time again that basically he's at a 50 to 52% approval rating. I think it was 51 today. He's up, I think, +4. That's great. And he earned those followers, and he's going to keep them no matter what, because they tried to even put him in jail and it didn't work. And what I've been saying for weeks is, well, don't watch Trump approval, watch right direction, wrong track. And that's still at 45% today. It was up to 48% a month ago. And now for the very first time, you're starting to actually see the mainstream media talk about that. There was a segment with Harry Enton on CNN where he came out and said, wow, look at this. It isn't Rasmussen, it's Marist and NBC, who also have the exact same right direction we do right now, 45%. And it's the highest in like their 20 years of polling too. Now, of course, their Trump approval is 10 points lower than mine, but their right direction's the exact same number. Like, make it make sense, right? But yeah, people are happy. There was a little bit of a hiccup as far as strong approval versus strong disapproval last week, but it all corrected it itself. So people are a little bit sensitive to the chaos and the stuff that's going on. But right now, it's like, well, people are trying to derail Trump's presidency. In the meantime, like, voters are getting what they asked for. So even like the Democrats, what's kind of wild with them is it looks like almost a civil war going on, where Chuck Schumer, he tried to come out and speak on behalf of Democrats and resist Trump, and he got just utterly destroyed on Twitter. He sort of like withdrew into himself. He did a little bit of virtue signaling around the debt ceiling fight. And then now, he, according to his own side, caved, and they're out for his head. But we have polling that shows that, like, no, actually the Democrats want their own party to moderate. They think that Chuck Schumer did the right thing, working with Trump to avert a shutdown, and they think that they should keep Chuck Schumer and not get rid of him. Just among Democrats, Chuck Schumer is a valuable leader for Senate Democrats. 52% of Democrats say yes. Senate Democrats need to get rid of Chuck Schumer. Only 33% of Democrats say yes. So it's this crazy thing where you have like the narrative is getting built and disseminated by the mainstream media, and it is the dominant narrative on Blue Sky and in Reddit, but it's not what Democrats want. They don't want people obstructing Trump right now.
No, they don't. And, they seem to be wanting, in fact, I think you have it a poll. What are they saying? They want these folks, these illegals, to be deported. A huge percentage want them out of the country. The Venezuelan gang members, all of them. They want them gone, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just one of many, many components of Donald Trump's platform that is overwhelmingly positive with voters. But even when you sharpen the pencil and get very specific, President Trump has declared the Venezuelan crime gang Tren de Agua, or whatever, I don't know, I'm not Venezuelan, to be a foreign terrorist organization.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that struggles with that. So good for you. Keep going.
And invoke the Alien Enemies Act to deport these gang members. Do you support or oppose Trump's policy? So Trump is in the question. Trump's policy to deport Venezuelan gang members. 64% of voters support that, 47% strongly, only 26% oppose, only 16% strongly oppose. Democrats support it 43% to 43%. They're basically exactly split. So that's crazy. It's like you have this, hero judge standing up for the resistance, getting in the way of Trump with his unconstitutional overreach. And meanwhile, Democrats can't even support him.
Well, your poll shows
You know?
64% favor deporting Venezuelan gang members. There you go, right there.
64 to 26.
That's crazy.
43% of Democrat support and a ridiculous 89% of Republicans, 63% of independents, only a quarter of independents are opposed. And not only that, we asked about, well, okay, you know, this judge put his neck on the line. What should happen to him? And voters say impeach him, 49% to 24%. So that's a 2-to-1 margin. And even Democrats, only 36% of Democrats say he shouldn't be impeached. That's not a vote of confidence.
No, it's sure not. Now, President Trump, I think it was yesterday, made a comment about, hey, we need to go one-day voting, voter ID, get rid of the machines, go to paper. And we played that comment yesterday with Mike Lindell on and played it. And this is what happened in the cabinet room today. He's got his chief of staff sitting next to him there. And listen to this.
Integrity. We believe that this executive order is the farthest reaching executive action taken in the history of the Republic to secure our elections. Among numerous other aspects of this executive order, this is going to cut down on illegal immigrants on the voter rolls, ensure that the Department of Homeland Security and the data that they have available is being fully weaponized to ensure that illegal immigrants aren't voting. This will include a citizenship question on the federal voting form for the first time. This executive order instructs the EAC to cut federal funding to states that don't take reasonable steps to secure their election. This calls on the Department of Justice to vigorously prosecute election crimes, particularly in states that we don't believe are in compliance with federal law around election integrity. I could go on and on for a while, sir, but the compliance with national election day rules, cracking down and investigating and prosecuting foreign interference in our elections, revoking President Biden's Executive Order 14019, which essentially weaponized government to corrupt and pollute our election process. There's a lot in here, but we believe that these are very important steps that we need to be taking as an administration at your direction to ensure that our elections are as secure as they possibly can be.
Okay, you all understand that? Yes. Election fraud, you've heard the term. We'll end it, hopefully. At least this will go a long way toward ending it. There are other steps that we will be taking in the coming weeks, and we think we'll be able to end up getting fair elections. Perhaps some people think I shouldn't be complaining because we won in a landslide, but we got to straighten out our election. This country is so sick because of the election, the fake elections and the bad elections, and we're going to straighten it out one way or the other. And it's an honor to sign this one. To sign all of them, but to sign this one is a great honor.
Well, he's not fooling around, and we need it because if we can't clean up the system, the midterms coming up, in less than 2 years, he's going to become a lame duck president, and he knows that. And I don't think the American people want to go back, and I don't care how much propaganda they shovel. The media cannot convince me that the American people want to go back. Not when he won the way he did in his poll numbers. And so this is such a priority because otherwise it is all going to be overturned or it never will be put into law. These executive orders are great, but they've got to keep electing people that will restore the republic and take these executive orders and put them into law. Otherwise, down the line, someone's just going to overturn them with another executive order. So the fact that he's moving so fast on this, a little over 60 days in, is impressive. What say you?
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely glad he signed this. We've been pounding the table harder than anybody about this topic. And this is just more of voters getting exactly what they want. Like, while we were watching that, I pulled up, would you support or impose enacting a law requiring paper ballots? 60% to 26%. 85% say only U.S. citizens should be allowed to vote. 55% think it's likely that non-citizens are voting. 77% support requiring voter ID, only 17% oppose. And even with the delayed counting, right, 54% to 34%, people say that they're being delayed 34%, 1 in 3 voters say that they're being delayed because people are cheating. And we've also said that, well, coming into this 2024 election, 66% thought the outcome was going to be affected by cheating. So this was a major issue. And one of the reasons I think that Donald Trump got back into the White House after the 2020 big steal. And we don't have a country if this doesn't get fixed. And now my call to Congress would be, listen, you got to get busy because Trump is serving up the voters what they want. And in my opinion, Congress is not right now. And that has to change. This stuff does have to get put into law. Although I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that might already affect the 2026 outcome that like I might be completely off. I mean, you have ActBlue blowing up. I think this starts.
Wait. What do you mean they're blowing up? What do you mean they're blowing up? You mean they're being exposed, right?
Well, my understanding is that there are multiple state investigations and have been for a while into the ActBlue act of smurfing small dollar donations into campaign coffers. Then there's been some highlight about how some of that money might actually potentially be taxpayer money. I don't know. It was alleged. And then we know that 7 employees of ActBlue have all left, I think, since the beginning of February, one of whom is the general counsel. And I was talking to Peter Bernegger, and he implied, although he didn't explicitly state, that there was probably some reason that we don't know about that the general counsel left that organization. Mm-hmm. And so this is crazy because I'll tell you, one of our biggest polling misses, and Ted, our president, would yell at me for saying that, but I think it was the 2018 election, not the 2020 election, where all of a sudden there was like a massive 3 sigma increase in off-cycle turnout. And what was interesting about that election is that ActBlue went from $800 million raised in the 2016 cycle to $1.6 billion in 2018 in an off cycle. And so I don't know. I think that there's some connection there. So will they have that capability, that ubiquitous upper hand of outraising the Republicans in small dollar donations this time? I don't know. I hope not. I might wind up like completely missing to the left, though, if that's the case. We'll see. I mean, already I have a Republican +3 on the generic ballot. And I don't even think the maps this time out, the House or the Senate maps, favor the Democrats. So you add potentially all the things in this executive order. You add the trouble that ActBlue has. You have increased I think oversight potentially, and I think there's some other components of the administration that haven't had their swipe yet. We haven't seen what a Trump FCC or FEC does in an election season, so I don't know. I'm optimistic, but again, like you have to get to. They're not just going to give this up, right? Like there's going to probably be some very drastic actions. They're already having people plant bombs and burn cars and stuff like that. And, some of that, like you just crazies that have been instigated. Maybe it's not organized. Maybe those individuals aren't funded, but we know they have a massive network and capability of turning people out and funding them and having these protests. And we haven't seen the worst of it yet, and it isn't nearly as bad as it was in the summer of 2020. So I think it's reasonable to think that all of these things are potentially coming. And then you have what's going to happen. Right there.
You think violence is coming?
Yes.
I mean, we already have violence, I guess, with the burning of Tesla, but you think there's more of that coming?
I think the Democrats are stuck between a complacent group of people who are frustrated and want the party to be more moderate so that they can win, and another group of people who think it's either in their best interest to be louder and wrestle control to make the party more radical, and a whole bunch of people that are true believers, and whether they've been radicalized through like internet chat boards and Reddit and that kind of stuff, or whether it's from MSNBC watching, you have Jasmine Crockett out there getting a lot of oxygen, for instance, and she's assaulting people on the floor of the House of Representatives. You go into Reddit, into their biggest political subreddit, Our Politics, and there's people actively calling for people within the Trump administration to essentially overthrow the government. And they were calling a lot for violence on Reddit before the Reddit administrators had to actually crack down on them. So, like, listen, AOC was out there, correct me if I'm wrong, fundraising for Luigi Mangione, I believe. And so there's this aspect of like latent violence it wasn't our polls, it was RMG, but they came out in the summer and 28% of Democrats say it would have been better if Trump had been shot in Butler. And I forget the number, but I think it was in the mid 20s as well. We asked I'll look it up, is protesting Tesla. People like the First Amendment. People like the idea, even though Elon Musk has a positive favorability rate, which is something the media won't tell you. People support the Tesla protests. But then we asked, Tesla automobiles and Tesla dealerships have been vandalized by anti-Trump protesters. Is vandalism against Tesla an appropriate form of protest? And actually, 20% of the country says yes, including 28% of Democrats. That's pretty wild. And 28% of self-ID liberals. So it's like there could be, we got up to 42% of the country thinking a civil war is likely in the next couple of years. And you have a lot of people out there whose reality is very disconnected. They are living in a different set of facts, one in which they think they have the moral high ground and some type of imperative to win. Because Trump's a dictator and he's taking our democracy away. Brandon, haven't you heard that? Haven't you heard about
that's what they
the threat to our democracy?
Yep,
right. So
Biden hammered that with his red light speech.
Yeah. Now I don't see realistically. I mean, they have a lot of tricks, but the idea of the public opinion swinging back because of Trump overreach or because people all of a sudden get enticed by a Democrat platform, it'll be dirty tricks, not like hard won majority support, I think. Right. And so I think the idea of listen, let's be real. A lot of people have talked about civil war, and we had, I think, a number close to 60% of Democrats who thought there would be a violent outcome if Kamala Harris won because they've been convinced that MAGA are violent extremists. And so we know that the Democrats project, that's a major problem, right? And people have been talking about civil war for a long time. Well, if you're in power and you're a leftist, what do you do to prevent that kind of situation? Well, you put your loyalists in law enforcement, positions. You have Soros-backed prosecutors. You put loyalists at the top of the military and do the best you can. But now that there is a conservative Republican, whatever that means, in the White House, I think it's pretty obvious which side the police and the military is going to come down on unless something crazy happens. And so what they're left with is insurgency. And that's exactly what we kind of have right now. We have potentially an organized anti-Trump insurgency going on right now. They just are doing it at a surrogate, Elon, because they think he's a squishier target.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to a clip real quick before we wrap. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. I guess she grabbed the phone or grabbed Charles Downs, who's been a guest here many times, works with Laura Loomer. Here's the video. Here's what happened today. Here we go.
Hello, Congresswoman.
Horse manure. Well, that sounds like fun.
Wait, Congresswoman Crockett.
But it sounds...
Congresswoman Crockett, you were recently on a Tesla takedown call calling for violence on the 29th. Would you like to clarify your comments?
As you can see.
Congresswoman, will you condone violence at the Tesla?
Okie dokie. There you go. So I think he pressed charges, if I read correctly. I don't know. That's what I read.
Oh yeah, I saw he got scratched by her extensions. I don't know. I would say, though, that those people, listen, we don't even poll on Jasmine Crockett because she doesn't make the cut. But when I poll on people like AOC, they're still in the single digits. This is basically Kamala's party, just because she had all that money and authority pumped into her artificially. And so it's still hers to lose. And your Newsoms and Shapiros of the world are in low teens, close to 10%. And so she's not running to be a national leader. I guess what she's doing is trying to be a social media influencer, and where she's getting all of this virality, right? I guess for lack of a better word, is feeding into this Trump dictator violent resistance. And AOC's kind of doing it too, I guess, to a lesser extent. But they're trying to build a groundswell of some kind of populist movement based on an anti-Trump, anti-rich populism that's nebulous, and I guess they'll just pack stadiums and see where it goes. Mm-hmm. And I guess I don't know if they're trying to inflame the crazies or if it's just, hey, there's a vacuum in leadership, and the more support that we can claw from people now, the more power we'll have when it comes to the bargaining table. I really don't know, but it's getting worse and worse. Like, I don't know if she's gonna like get too close to the sun there and get burned. Are they gonna censure her or something?
Charles tweeted, "I just left the Capitol Police headquarters in D.C., where I filed a police report against Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett for assault, battery, and attempted theft of my cell phone, simply because I respectfully asked her to condemn the violence she has been inciting at Tesla showrooms." Well, there you go.
Man. Yeah. I'm such a cynic. There's probably Capitol Police that have PTSD from less than that from January 6th. I don't know. I don't know where it's going, but if you go to Reddit and look around, if you go to Blue Sky, it's a very different set of reality. It's a very different political context. Let me ask you
about the report that, let me just play a little bit about Mike Benz is saying about Obama and USAID and funding a color revolution. Here we go.
This was a scandal during the Obama USAID era. Now, we were running a number of rogue USAID operations in Cuba at the time. By the way, I have to say for the record, I'm no fan of the Cuban government. I'm not even weighing in on whether it's the right or wrong thing to do, in terms of regime change there or, liberating people there from autocratic excess by that government. I'm simply showing the American people where your tax dollars are going and how these things are structured in order to systematically fool you and to fool Congress and to fool the White House. So, for example, this is, and I'll show a couple other things in a second here. But this is Zunzaneo. So if you just scroll for a second, we'll start with this, right? So it was an online social media. Just scroll up 1 second. We'll start at the top here. It was an online social networking microblogging service created by USAID and marketed to Cuban users. This was a Twitter knockoff. See, the background of this is 2009, 2014, that period. The State Department and USAID were gangbusters gung-ho on the promise of Arab Spring-style social media revolutions to topple other governments. The Arab Spring was a Facebook revolution and a Twitter revolution. USAID pumped $1.2 billion in, and we sponsored these activist groups and these civil society organizations to learn how to use Facebook, learn how to use Twitter, learn how to use hashtags, learn how to coordinate street protests so that everyone knows where to go, what street to show up on, what kind of slogans to use in order to create the pro-democracy, predicate for it. But the problem was at the time, Cuba did not allow U.S. social media in. So they said, so they're not allowing Twitter in. How can we get a Twitter there, but without calling it Twitter, without making it look like it's coming from the U.S.? So what they did is they took the exact same thing as Twitter, same user interface, same like and retweet button. Zunzaneo is the Cuban slang word for hummingbird. So it means it's bird. It was the Twitter bird, the whole thing. But the whole trick about it was you have to make it look like it's coming from the Cubans if you're going to do this operation. So what you'll see is it began running. So this is 2010. This is right during the Arab Spring. And what you'll see is they took funds, millions of dollars of funds that were concealed as humanitarian funds designated for Pakistan. Now, I don't know if Joe or the audience, if you've looked at a map lately, but Pakistan is not exactly the next door neighbor of Cuba. Right. So, and this is the Wikipedia whitewashing, and we can get into the deeper layers of this, but contractors funded by USAID, I should note the main contractor was Creative Associates International, who's a frequent one. It's CAI, not CIA, I promise. So they concealed in the budget from Senate, from Congress, from the White House National Security Council. They said that these were humanitarian funds for Pakistan. And then they ran that to their contractor, CAI, to, quote, set up a Byzantine system of front companies using Cayman Islands bank accounts and recruiting unsuspecting business executives who would not be told of the company's ties to the U.S. government, according to the AP. The private companies like Creative Associates International designed the network. The idea arose after they were given 500,000 stolen Cuban cell phones that were available on the black market. And then what you'll see if you scroll down is, the network, dubbed the Cuban Twitter, reached about 60,000 Cuban subscribers. The initiative appears to also have had a surveillance dimension, allowing a, quote, vast database of Cuban Zunzanillo subscribers, including gender, age, and receptiveness and political tendencies to be built, with the Associated Press noting such data could be used in the future for political purposes. By the way, these are all quotes from the internal documents, and we can go through that. The data would then be used for micro-targeting efforts towards anti- and pro-government users in Cuba. The developers aimed to, at first, use non-controversial content, such as sports and music, and hurricane updates, by the way. They used hurricane updates in the internal things. Basically a humanitarian front that if you sign up to this app, you'll know about natural disasters in the area. Meanwhile, what was the plan the whole time? Once they built up enough subscribers, they would begin to introduce political messages through social bots and encourage dissent in this astroturfing. There's a great Guardian write-up on this. If you go to Guardian Zunzanillo, so you can see how crazy. Just type in Zunzanillo Smart Mob Guardian. You'll see the internal files explicitly said, we're going to lure them in with music, sports, and hurricane updates. You have to join. Twitter in Cuba if you want, to be relevant in the culture and see what's trending in sports and music. If you want to be safe in your homes, if you want to know where hurricanes are going, Twitter, Cuban Twitter is the fastest place to get this. It's humanitarian work for, we're saving lives by doing this. But the whole point is once they hit a critical mass, they would create rental riots. And they would use this the same way they used it in Egypt and Tunisia to topple those governments under the Obama administration. They would organize smart mobs, rental riots. And if you scroll down, there's some, this is a fantastic article, highly recommend. There's a lot more there. But okay, stop right there. Oh, scroll up a little bit. Okay. Documents show the U.S. government planned to build a subscriber base through non-controversial news content, news messages on soccer, music, and hurricane updates. This is in The Guardian. Later, when the network reached a critical mass, perhaps hundreds of thousands, operators would introduce political content aimed at inspiring Cubans to organize, quote, smart mobs, mass gatherings called at a moment's notice that might trigger a Cuban spring, or as one USA document put it, quote, renegotiate the balance of power between state and society.
All right, let's hold there. So they're using what's supposed to be money for humanitarian purposes, and they're directing it toward color revolution. Reportedly just in Cuba. But was it just in Cuba? How do we know they're not doing this in America? How do we know that our own government hasn't done this in America or other countries, or hasn't funded groups overseas to come back in and do this to America? You know what I'm saying? Send the money overseas for this or that, and then you end up finding out that what's coming back in are projects and companies and corporations getting our own government money to set up social media or corporations that brainwash the American people, deceive the American people, and get rent mobs going and color revolution inside our own country.
Yeah, I agree. Like, this sounds exactly like Reddit, for instance. And I'm not pointing a finger about who's doing it, but it's like, look, oh, yeah, you can come and join the weather subreddit. Oh, yeah, you can track hurricanes here. Oh, and by the way, there's this political subreddit, too. It's the biggest one that everybody joins. And oh, by the way, we basically enforce a loud narrative. And not only that, then we indoctrinate a lot of young people that get funneled into it. And oh, by the way, now there's subreddits popping up to organize some of these riots, like, the whole cute winter boots thing that was going on for a while. And what is also happening is that federal workers are now organizing on Reddit. There's a Fed News subreddit that's just absolutely full of people who have either been fired or on their way to being fired because they're doing Reddit instead of their federal jobs. And, undermining basically the Trump administration. A lot of these people are probably even on the taxpayer dime as we speak. And I'll tell you, here's the thing. Voters don't understand this. Voters don't understand that USAID was a taxpayer-funded proxy arm of the CIA doing this stuff. But what I can tell you is, even a year ago, we said that we asked people, are we spending too much or not enough on foreign aid? And people said too much, 57% to 10%. And they might not know that the CIA or other intel agencies has their hand so far up every single one of these mainstream media outlets, but they suspect it. We asked how likely is it that the CIA or other intelligence agencies are seeding political talking points to mainstream media news, and the answer is in the 60s. I think it was like 64% who said at least somewhat likely. And so where we're at is that we know the details. You and I know the details of how big it is, and the people are going to find out. But they already kind of assumed it.
And their gut reaction. And as you say, we already know, here I'm saying, how do we know the government isn't using money to create social media platforms to do this, not just in Cuba, but in America, or sending the money out of the country so that a company outside the country can come back into the country and do this, getting the CIA around their regulations or not to operate in America. Which I'm not sure they really follow that. I mean, if you're breaking the law, why do you worry about another law? But reality is, isn't that what they're already doing, as you state, when the government, USAID, is giving millions of dollars to media outlets and then controlling the narrative and then wanting to control who can come into the White House Press Corps Association, as we've dealt with, or tell us, like Reuters, we want to charge you X dollars to get feed coming out of the White House. Oh, but by the way, the feed that's coming from the White House, most of it, we're going to say you can't use it in the U.S. It's basically, you can't use it. It's blocked for U.S. So people overseas who don't pay federal taxes can use your feed when you're inside the White House and you're getting government funding. That's ridiculous. I mean, this whole thing has been proven. Now we're realizing, how is it that AP and Reuters and these groups make it financially? We got to generate $40,000 a month just to cover my cost to keep the network going. And that doesn't count me getting a salary. That's just my hard cost. And I'm thinking, how are these other groups doing it that need to bring in millions of dollars, right? With satellite trucks and buildings here and buildings there and reporters all over the ground. Like, who on earth is watching these people that they're generating enough eyeballs and enough advertising dollars to fund this thing? I'm thinking, this doesn't smell right. I don't understand their business model. Yeah. The media's dying and people aren't watching them. How do they still have the money to do all this? Well, it turns out my gut reaction was right. I didn't know where they're getting their money, but they're getting it from the government to stay afloat. I'm not getting government money, nor do I want it. But we're finding out the government has been propagandizing us for decades. I mean, Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah, and what's hilarious, Brandon, is that you're like aiming low. You're underselling how bad this entire thing is. This is the only descriptor I can really come up with is freaking clown world. It's clown world because now not only that, right? You have government funding going to all these research institutions. As much as 50, 60, 70% is going to indirect costs, funding massive faculties of people that are undermining our freedoms. Then you have like the whole student loan debacle and the way that the entire immigration system is built up to take people from other parts of the country and supplant our own high-end workers with like foreign tech. Like it goes on and on and on. It's freaking clown world. And what it comes down to is that from a parasitic perspective, the working class of the most successful nation on earth is literally the best host that was ever made. They sucked it and they sucked it dry. They sucked it too much. Parasite almost killed the host. But everybody in the world, the entire consulting industry, like you're going to have consultancies implode. They're going to have to fire like half the staff at Booz Allen Hamilton, probably. And I don't know how much McKinsey or Accenture, like their stocks are plummeting right now. And don't even get me started on the research market. Trump was just talking yesterday about some $830 million no-bid contract that went for a bunch of people to write surveys on a cocktail napkin with crayons. All of our polling in all of Rasmussen history has cost less than 100 times that. So what are they doing with the money? And I bet you it's probably some kind of like perpetual recurring contract that nobody looks at. I mean, it's just, it's clown world. Well, the entire thing.
It's, as I say in one of my books, I learned from one of my friends, one of my mentors years ago, the middle class are like a cow. You milk the cow, the elite, they milk the cow, they keep the cream for themselves, and then they give the rest of it to their special interest groups and a bunch of the voting bloc they want to entice, so they stay in power. And that's what they've done. They've milked the cow about dry.
Yeah, they've grifted too close to the sun. That's what they did.
Rasmussen, let's go to it. Show you his. Let me show you his Twitter handle here. I got to show you that so you guys can all follow him. Let me scroll up a little bit here. If my
it's Honest Pollster. There's only one of us.
Mark Mitchell. I had you open. I don't know where it went, but there it is. I want to show your handle. There we go. There we go. Honest Pollster. That's it. He's right. That is it. All right. At Honest Pollster. And then, of course, his website, RasmussenReports.com. RasmussenReports.com or at Honest Pollster. And he's going to be one of the keynote speakers at our fall conference. And we're getting close to half sold out already, and it's not till fall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They heard you were
Awesome.
coming, and they just went right to register as soon as they heard you were going to be there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have no idea what's going to happen by then, right?
I know. That's right. Nobody's picking their keynote presentations yet. Are you kidding? There's no idea.
Yeah, it might be on like planning Civil War supply lines or how to like conduct enemy insurgent operations. I don't know, right?
Well, whatever it is,
it's a long time.
Whatever it is, it'll be great. I know that. So follow him on social media, and thanks for being with us, Mark.
Thank you, Bren.
Mark checking in tonight, folks. Follow him again on social media. All right, folks. Again, I got to remind you, look at that. There was another long format interview with no breaks. You know how many commercial breaks the average network would have taken right in there? Not us. We're all about the content, but we got to pay the bills. So here's what I need you to do. Go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You know about Bella Grace. I take it every day. I love it. 80 clinical trials behind it. 80. Collagen, but the peptides cut short so your body actually digests it. It's got the astaxanthin, which fights free radicals, and it crosses the brain-blood barrier. The cat's claw, that's from a bark on a vine in Peru. That's an anti-inflammatory. Melissa loves the skincare. The weight management. Bellatrim, all natural, and it's great for your cardiac health as well. It optimizes your insulin, lowers your bad cholesterol, brings up your good cholesterol, helps to normalize your blood pressure, overall good cardiac health, improves your prebiotics, lowers inflammation. These are the things Melissa's written down for me. She did some great homework on it. She takes this every day. So it's not only curbing her appetite, but then all the other health benefits. She does indeed use the restorative sleep every night, 2 gummies to help her stay asleep so that she doesn't wake up and then stay awake for a couple hours. So she's really enjoying the restorative sleep. We love all their products. We only endorse and embrace companies whose products we personally have tested and use and appreciate. Otherwise, we just don't promote them. So please go there, melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. Keep registering for our big event in Milwaukee, April 15th. It's filling fast, but you got to have a ticket. Here's my restorative sleep and our Bella trim right there. All right, so get registered for the big event, worldviewtube.com/ what is it, Logan? Worldviewtube.com/events to register for the big event coming up in Milwaukee, Waukesha. Worldviewtube.com/events. What else we got? Worldview Talk, that's your cell phone that doesn't track you. That's a satellite phone. That's your solar generator. That's your blankets that block the EMF. There's so much there. So check it all out. Very important, again, that you support us by going to our sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Of course, one of our biggest sponsors is right here, folks, the foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. That helps us shove out so much programming for free versus putting it all behind a paywall. The 24/7 stream on demand. Otherwise, I can just put it all behind a paywall. But our foundation comes along and helps put it out as a broadcast service, education, and ministry. So think of us as your Christian worldview alternative to National Public Radio, National Public Television. Again, we don't get government funding, nor do we want it, but you do make it possible. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. We are looking for more regular monthly contributors. Please consider getting, going ahead and joining as a regular monthly contributor. That's so important, folks. We need to add more of you that are regular monthly contributors because a lot of you get busy and you forget to give. But our bills keep coming in. We're about $7,000, $8,000 a month or so for giving away free programming with our streaming and bandwidth. We really need to hear from you guys tonight. Tonight, please, worldviewfoundation.com.